Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 457, and today we're doing battle with Ahri Kennen. And so, Ahri Kennen, this deck was a menace across the lands of Runeterra for probably a solid 3 or 4 months. This is arguably one of the most nerfed decks of all time, and it's really looking to take advantage of the recall themes. And so, if you aren't familiar with these units, Kennen ties into the recall themes very heavily. He's not just a Mark of the Storm generator for you to discard to your Zonite urchins. He actually does other stuff, right? So Kennen ties into recalls with wanting to see you summon the same ally over and over again, and then Ahri has her ability tied into the recall as well. And so over the course of time, there's basically been two major versions and major flavors of this deck. They both all ramp up in kind of the same style to where we're going to be putting Kennens on the board, or ideally we'll be putting dancing droplets on the board. We'll get in a little bit of elusive chip damage, and then as our opponent attacks, we're going to recall these units back to our hand, prevent that attack from doing anything, and then draw some cards while we're at it. And so that has been the kind of common play pattern over the course of time. We put a cheap unit down, we block, we recall, we replay, and then we get some kind of effect out of it. The main differences are what you typically have in the finisher. And so for a long time, this deck would use the Absolver. And so that would be more of an Ahri based kill, as to where you have Ahri on the board. You cast both halves of the Absolver on her, so she becomes this 7 attack, elusive, overwhelming unit. And then as she attacks all the way down the line, she gets 6 attacks in with that big, overwhelm, elusive mess. That's kind of style number one. But style number two is making usage of Go Hard. This is a card we do not see too frequently these days. This just drains one from a unit, shuffles 2 copies of it back into your deck, and then as you played 3 copies of Go Hard, you get to play Pack Your Bags, which is just the gigantic game-ending AoE style of ability. And so you typically see Pack Your Bags and Go Hards played with Twisted Fate and card draw based decks, as to where if you get a big density of these Pack Your Bags within your deck, it makes it much easier to draw them. Then you can just start chaining them off. But one of the nerfed cards across the course of time has been Scattered Pod. This card, very interesting to me, seeing this get a buff coming out of the variety patch. It used to cost 6 mana, now it costs 5. And the big thing with this is the play ability. So you play it, you get to pick either slow, fast, or burst, and then you draw one of those speed of spells from your deck. The key thing with this being is the only slow spell in our deck is Go Hard. And so as we have this Scattered Pod on the board, we can play it. We can choose slow, and then we'll draw Go Hard or Pack Your Bags, whichever half happens to be in our deck. And then if we need to, we can potentially recall the Scattered Pod, play it again, and then draw a slow spell again, which happens to be the 1 copy of Pack Your Bags, and then we can then go and recast it from there. And so, while I don't think that this deck is going to be particularly strong, I'll go ahead and tell you right now, my goal for the day is 1 victory, 2 if we're doing pretty good, but I kind of want to get a feel for this Scattered Pod, as these kind of cards tend to be pretty fucking bonkers in terms of just being able to tutor out any kind of ability. And so, as you may be aware, Riot did recently just nerf the Noxus spell that draws a 5 attack unit from your deck, that's meant to be used as just kind of a card draw thing or reputation enabler. But turns out if the only 5 power attacker in your deck is Rumble, then you just draw Rumble anytime you draw it. You're able to do exactly the same thing with Scattered Pod, in that it can come out and then just draw Pack Your Bags or whatever fast or burst spell you're looking for. You just play a singular copy of that spell. And so I'm wanting to come in and try some of this out, see how it feels. There are some new additions. Since this deck was really popular probably about a year and a half ago, the big addition here we're going to call out is Tag Out. This is being a recall or I'm sorry, a cheap recall on our units or an expensive recall onto our opponents. It's very important with the play patterns that we have going on, being able to recall a dancing droplet or recall an opposing unit to prevent the combat damage. Tag out something that we're going to be looking to take advantage of here. And then I don't remember when it actually happened, but Homecoming is back down to 4 mana. I'm pretty certain Homecoming cost 5 mana for a long time, and then they rotated it out of standard and dropped it back down to 4. But this is another big build around spell that we don't see a ton of in play these days with the kind of lack of Ionia running around in the formats. And so, again, the biggest nerf to this deck was probably the changes to Ionia and Tellstones, to where the Tellstones no longer generates homecomings, and now we can't play 6 homecomings in our deck, but quite interested to see how the scattered pod plays out in our video today. And so, that's the deck. That's what we're doing battle with today. You know what we got to do before the battles begin. We got to go and turn something premium, and Dancing Droplet is the key. He's the guy. He's the one. He should be turned premium, as he is the critical card draw component coming out of this deck. And I appreciate it, my dude. Let's see if we can't come in. Make our way down to 0 LP. But at least maybe get one win along the way. Scattered pod. It makes me curious with him as to stuff to like, what if you start to play it in like the ramp decks, like if you have it in Trundle set, but then your only slow spell is like Buried in Ice or Feel the Rush or something, and you just have the ability to tutor up your big spell, and then you just don't necessarily have to play as many copies of it. It's quite interesting. But game number 1 up here against Jinx Draven, this is going to be a real pain in the ass. The Kennen isn't something we particularly want. We want to be starting with Dancing Droplets and Go-Hards, but I kind of feel like we need to make sure we have an early game play just to kind of come in and stem the tide of damage coming from the opponent. And so not a bad additional card picking up the second Kennen, giving us the ability to maybe trade Kennen away and then still get off a Mark of the Storm. So we'll see how that angle plays out.
Anything else?
All right, Zonite Urchin here to party. Ooh, he discards Give It All. Must say I did not expect that to be the card that we'd be seeing here.
Let me see your technique.
All right, so let's send it on back. Recall old Kennen to our hand, prevent that damage. Now we can Mark of the Storm off the Zonite Urchin. And then as the next turn rolls around, we'll have the ability to kill it. Drop the killing blow with the Mark of the Storms. Oh shit, these are back to dealing 2 damage. I'll tell you, over the course of all my practice games, I just, I never really popped off with the Kennens. It was so much more building towards the Go-Hards. Oh snap. Oh snap, fam. We did it in the video. It's done. See you all. Thanks for coming by. We got our victory. Woof. Good spot to end. This will be the last Eternal Battle ladder battles with Bust of the Eternal season. I do believe we always run into this kind of awkward point at the end of the month to where we're going to play the Runeterra Open, and then there's that like 2 weeks before the next set comes out. And so we'll have to kind of wait and see how that actually pans itself out. But it's kind of odd with the content at the end of the season. But nonetheless, this is the big rising star of the format, Gnar Elise. I'm not entirely sold on how good I think that this deck is. I think that this is one that you really have to kind of look at who's playing it. And we have kind of touched on this Warden of the Tribes theme that Infini Patrons and that Kawako have been running around with. That those dudes are just like always at the top of the ladder, and they're going to have a spectacular win rate with pretty much anything. And so, you know, it's always a bit questionable in terms of, you know, how good is this deck? Is this actually a real contender? And this is actually what I considered playing today, this Gnar Elise. And it's a deck that it does have, you know, quite a bit of power to it. It follows a lot of the tenets that I really believe you need to be successful in this Eternal format. It has early game removal with things like Calling Strikes and Vile Feasts, and then it has the kind of, well, if we're just going to sit around and stare at each other style of things, Warden of the Tribes is very good in that sense, but it just strikes me as an odd deck. It doesn't seem like it should be that strong, and I kind of feel like it's a lot of power behind the players and not nearly as much in the strength of the deck itself. Snap. Rhinefang Wolf coming in. Pretty strong. It's one of the few units we're actually worried about here. So let's protect our Kennen. No need to get super involved with this board. We'll just take the extra damage from Omen Hawk. That's fine. I think we'll probably switch the marks back over to this Rhinefang Wolf now, though. It's the much more intimidating unit of the two. Like, it's not a particularly appealing attack on this next turn. If he has a Vile Feast or something to nail our or I'm sorry, if he has a Troll Chant or something to nail the Kennen, we're in kind of a bad spot. But
Rain and lightning.
we did just pick up Homecoming, which gives us a little bit more of an option. And let's add the Disciple in.
What could you ever teach me? Catch the wind!
So we got to be a little bit careful here. I would like to just Homecoming away the Gnar, but he's got a Vile Feast or something. We're in a bit of a bind. We haven't picked up any of our Twin Disciplines to kind of protect our units here. So I worry a little bit about Kennen just getting boomed in this spot. Now the Saurion is in. I mean, this really feels to me like we're about to get hit with a Troll Chant, but as long as it's not Vile Feast, I think I'm okay with it.
Let me see your technique.
Ripper Reno to the Vestayan Disciple, but we can still get some more of our friends up and running on these upcoming turns. There's the pod. Not super interested in going for the Gohards right now. It's like you do see the 1 health unit out here in the Rheinfang Wolf kind of primed and ready to eat some of this damage, but not exactly where I want to be. There you go. Get in there, Navori Conspirator. But I mean, man, it's like the 2 points of damage we'd be getting out of or the 1 point of damage would be so big. Like, this is such a strong board for a Pack Your Bags, but we're just so far away from it.
I possess the secrets of Kinku.
We'll see how much time we have here. I think we're about to get blasted. I feel like with this game, if we were building up towards an Ahri, we would have been okay. Like if we were doing the Ahri Absolver kind of combo, but with just Pack Your Bags to AoE this board, we're just so far behind in terms of what we're going to be able to do. But Scattered Pod, sizable bro, right? He's got some meat on them bones, and so I'm curious to see what he can do for us today. Let's just stop there. We're about to get zinged pretty hard with this. Just like that, you can feel the Troll Chant ready to come in, and so I'm not super amped about that.
Your attack is obvious.
Taking 9, okay. Sure. Okay, here comes Warden of the Tribes for 70 stats. And then we're just donezo.
Pokey, pokey. Sorry.
This would be pretty nice if it was 3 damage Kennens, though. Able to take Gnar off of the board. Show him your final move, Kennen. You can do it, bro. Yeah, there it is. GG. But that's exactly what I'm kind of talking about with this format. Is like we really needed to be popping off a pack your bags there. We can deal with like the one warden of the tribes, and just letting him build up the board like that's just way too much. So maybe in that match we should have just mulliganed a little bit harder for our kind of enablers. It's like Go Hard and Dancing Droplet are really where you want to be starting, and I feel like if you're up against something like, say, Elites, to where you're just putting big units on the board and then not having too many ways to really interact otherwise, that, like, Kennen start probably would have been okay, but I think we probably really just needed to be pushing for a Go Hard based turn. Is that Zoe coming down? We're ready for Zoe, right? We have like a million we have like a million elusives and we have Go Hards, so you gotta feel good about that.
What could you ever teach me?
He's not playing Zoe though, he's playing Viktor Aphelios.
Wu-Ting style!
And a youngling. Sure thing. Probably just need to pop off this Go Hard anyways. It's not doing anything. We gotta get the more copies in our deck. Ooh, there's Scattered Pod. Okay, okay. Let the big boys come down. Holy shit. That was not on my bingo card. Draconic Bands coming in. Okay. I'll allow it. Have to feel like Homecoming is gonna work pretty well onto the Draconic Bands. This is the kind of nonsense you're just so well tuned to dealing with. Alright, aggro style. There's our boy Scattered Pod. He says, I'm ready. I'm here. I want to draw some Go Hards. Let's get to it. You can deal with Viktor. He's going to hit that spell shield at an opportune time, I'm sure, but he's pack your bagable. Probably just pass out of this turn. I mean, it's like such a good Homecoming, but it feels like it's just a gigantic win for us if he just doesn't even attack. We just take the bank into the next turn. Aphelios isn't what I'm really interested in seeing. Alright, we got the time for this nonsense. I think he's probably just going for Calibrum, the deal 3 to a unit, and I'm pretty okay with losing all of our units at this point. And then we can still just block for the turn. That's very strange to me. Sure. Just lets the Moon Boy fall. Very strange. Take it though.
I am the Shimon Wind. Whoosh!
So that's going to be like the Calibrum, right? Onto a Vestayan Disciple. It's another one, like, I'm not entirely opposed to just letting it happen, but I mean, the Homecoming can be pretty big here, especially if we get the counter onto Viktor. Nice.
Hey, over here!
Alright, we'll just go ahead and cast all the spells. He's out of mana, so we don't have to worry about our units dying. And then we have the additional scattered pods to keep drawing our big spells. Feeling good. Looking good, my dudes. This strikes me as one of these games where it could just drag on long enough to where our scattered pods actually hit elusive, right? We might get enlightened in this game. Elusive. You knew he was eventually gonna hit it. Did this scattered pod used to have a tune? Is that what the deal with it was? Was it had a tune, but it cost the one more point of mana? I think that's the case.
I have studied every fighting manual.
Analyzing approach.
Alright, still seems reasonable though. Let's see. He's got fearsome, we can't get in front of that. That's okay. He shouldn't have anything that can counterspell a concussive palm anyways. It is kind of annoying mode now that he has 6 health and we can't just kill him with our big spell. But pretty close to the lethals here as well. I mean, we have a healthy chunk of units just hanging out on the board, and so non-zero chance we could just stun him out of this. Like, with Kennen... Aw. I guess we should have protected our friend a little more. I was going to say, though, with Kennen where he's at, the attack gives you 2 marks, and so if we recall him and replay him, we could stun both of the opposing units. That's so wild, right? You're so excited to cast our Pack Your Bags. We can do it. We have the scattered pod to search it up, but it's not enough at the moment. Nonsense. All right, well, let's keep grinding. As we come back to our next turn, we're gonna be we're gonna be leveled up, and so I think it'll be okay to maybe just try and finish this off with the elusives if we can get Viktor out of the way. Has he hit spell shield yet? There it is. Plays the Epiphany. Uh-oh. Is he doing that sump monument nonsense? Oh, man. I guess sometimes you just don't want to do it. That's so weird. Like, what I'm curious what he would have that makes him want to pop off, like, right now. Like, is he gonna have both, like, the sump monument, I guess you don't really care about at this point, but is he gonna have the Cosmic Call in hand? That's the big one. Well, whatever he want, I feel like he didn't find. He didn't just snap that one off. So that's the usual indicator to me that something has gone awry. Not that awry. He found him a big boy. Alright, make some KDA noises. The Evelyn spell coming through. barely even killed anything. Barely even killed anything. Alright, not a bad turn. Still short of the lethal, though. That's insane, right? That's insane. Dumb cards. But I think we're in an okay-ish spot now. I mean, like, if he recalls the or replays the Great Beyond, we have a touch of problem. Because we can't concussive palm it. But kind of is what it is.
I don't do meditation.
Doesn't have overwhelm, right? That's the big thing with the Great Beyond.
Join the glorious evolution.
Yes, we're so far away. So far away. It's like even if we play a Saiyan Thousand Tailed, he gets the chance to put his big boy on board again, and we don't get to deal any damage. I think we're just kind of stuck here. Sending all these bad units in, and then we can play the Saiyan Thousand Tailed after combat. Ugh, what a gross turn, man.
Of course. No materials, no improvements.
Of course, Viktor lands right on the spell shield. So we kind of need to find another interactivity.
There's always
Right? It would be nice to be able to get the Great Beyond off of the board. I mean, we can still just block it. That's not a big deal, right? But I feel a little bit better if that thing was gone. I mean, I guess we realistically just need to make it into the next turn and we'll be okay.
Analyzing a probe.
Let's see what we pick up. Kennen, the breaker of the breaker of spell
I
shields.
have mastered the rain, lightning, and cloud styles.
Surprised he hasn't just been dropping more of those more of the spells. Like it seems like the units don't matter here. He needs to be hitting like supernovas. We only have that one copy of Deny in our deck, so we can't really aggressively go after the supernova. But if we get into next turn, I think we're fine. We're finally okay. Bust's ever famous last words.
Enough, have you?
Cool. Didn't even really want him. Nope. It's just absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You cannot win.
What technique is
Man,
this?
we're still so far away from the damage we need to do next turn. We got a piece of the puzzle dealt with here, but we still got to fight through this giant dum-dum.
Silent as death.
I Deny is here. Maybe we'll get there. Kennen's too slow, right? We don't have the second recall to get Kennen back into hand, and so I'm kind of looking at just playing Ahri and then playing Saiyan Thousand Tailed,
Now I hunt.
trying to get our attack in there.
Night protects the huntress.
It just seems like it would be so much easier with the Absolver. Like I guess Ahri is like a little bit too small for this this giant celestial running around, but it just feels like life would be a lot easier if we could hit with that. How does he keep getting so many non-celestial cards? Did he play the thing from Beyond and then just not have like not have the right thing? That's weird. Of course. Like, he played the is that what he did? He played the celestial thing. I've been sitting here thinking, like, why does he not just keep drawing the gifts from Beyond over and over? And he fucking played it and didn't have a celestial on the board. I'm pretty certain that that's what just happened. He didn't even know it happened. Oh, Jesus fuck. Okay. Well, if we had a homecoming, we could get rid of this thing, but...
I can.
Alright. I'm almost certain that's what happened. Opponent completely whiffed on that. He played his card, didn't realize that it wasn't gonna happen, and then still just like lucked out after that anyways, because it wasn't what he actually wanted. I'm pretty certain. Maybe I'm crazy. I thought he played the celestial thing with 4 cards in hand, and so my thought at that point was like, okay, we don't have to worry about any of this nonsense. It's just celestial cards from this point forward. Apparently that's not the case. I don't know. I feel like if I was a much more astute Ahri Kennen player, that game would have just been done. I'm sure some Ahri Kennen player from a year ago is just like, Bust, you're fucking terrible. And you're not wrong. This is certainly not a deck that was running around during the times of Expedition, but... Well, it was around during the expeditions. We weren't playing Constructed back then, so I didn't play 100 matches of Ahri Kennen. I would have been much more in line with playing Ahri Bard. Just saying that here's my elusives. Prepare. Look at this. We got a target for the Go Hard. We might get to actually do our thing this game. Feels good. I wanna cast these things. I wanna play relevant pack your bags. What a nonsensical game that was in the last one. Just pack your bags and into like 3 units it doesn't even kill. Fucking bonkers.
I know what lurks in the shadows.
You got Elise coming in. How much do we worry about her? I mean, he's clearly just playing spiders, but I think we can let her run around for a while. We have the option to twin disciplines our dancing droplet and throw it in front of Elise, but I'm a little bit more interested in getting Ahri going, I think. Getting the cycle on the droplet and then being prepared for a perhaps a block the following turn. Because our hand doesn't really do anything.
The forest and I are one.
Wouldn't you all rather just have a deck where you put a lot of elusives on the board and attack? I was actually thinking about making a video with Poppy Zed today. I feel like it's tough for me. It's like it feels like a format that should be like primed and ready for Poppy Zed. Like any format to where Galio Fiora is strong is just asking for the like most nonsensical, non-interactive style deck, and that's exactly what Poppy Zed is. And yeah, I thought about bringing it. I chose not to at the end of the day, but
You dare!
I thought there was some potential for it. Ooh, another Go Hard. We're getting close, fam. We're building them up. It starts to get scary. He's definitely gonna get that flip to Elise next turn. Probably got to hang on to the dancing droplet at this point. Don't want to just be losing it to a rando spider. But if we can pick up
Beauty is
the
beneath the skin.
the pack your bags, will be fine. Uh-oh. Game break? Paused for a moment. Just bring in team, huh? No hooks? Alright, well, I'll force the issue.
Catch me if you can.
We got another Ahri in hand and don't want to just be getting domed with this stuff. We just need a little bit more time, and everything will be okay. We're going to find our big spell. We're going to kill a unit with it. What more could you want? What more could you want?
Is it fear that stills your mind?
Gonna get a Nox and Fervor coming in. I'm alright with that. Vile Feast. Sure. Alright, let's get the squad up and running. We gotta find our big spell. I know you can produce, deck. You got it in you. This guy, you remember when Shadow Assassin was a 2/2? This guy was deemed, I guess this gal, this lady here, was deemed to be too good. She gracefully slid, she glided, noiselessly stepped in the shadows. Claws were the only trace of her nerf. She might have been a 2/3 at one point. I can't remember. I know that she was most definitely... Was she a 3/2? She might have had 5 stats. Somebody might have thought a 5-stat 3-drop elusive draw card was a good idea. I don't entirely remember the stat line on her. I feel like she was a 3/2, and then they said, that's too good, let's make her a 2/2, and then they said, no, that's too good, let's make her a 2/1. And then with all the reverts these days, I'm surprised she hasn't been sent back. Like, on a completely nonsensical card in Ancient Crocolith, finding the way to get, like, Fearsome attached to it, like, literally never playable, only time ever relevant is off of a concurrent timelines. Let's give that guy Fearsome. This card that has been, you know, a non-zero amount of relevant in its lifetime can't go back up to 2 health. Very interesting. We got fellow Ionia haters out at Riot, and they just say, nah, we're not doing that again. We're putting draw a card onto 5/4 overwhelming 5-drops and letting them Omen Hawk while they're at it. I like the way you think, Riot. I like the way you think. Pod. Can, like, Scattered Pod, draw a card, tag it out, and then Scattered Pod again, use that for the big AoE. I've been more impressed with the Scattered Pod than I really thought I was going to be. Like, I don't think that this is really the deck. I don't know what the deck looks like that really wants this, but it starts to be one of those things to where, like, to me, when you start thinking of, like, a ramp deck, right? In the sense that,
Is it fear that stills your mind?
like, your burst spells or the ramp cards, I guess in a large part now it is playing, like, the ramp slow spell thing.
Get him.
But it hasn't always been the case, and who knows if Riot will print more ramp cards. But I start to see a card like Scattered Pod, and it's like, okay, well, if you play Catalyst of the Aeons on turn 3, that gets you into, like, 5 mana on turn 5, and now you can play either Trundle or you can play Scattered Pod on turn 4. it's a nice recovery because these units are fucking big, and so he's just kind of interesting to me in that sense as to where he's then capable of more, right? He can come in that way. What's happening here? We're getting boomed. He decided against hooking anything in to go for the damage. Okay. Try and get this Elise out of here. It's interesting with this block. I feel like we should probably be recalling it in combat. Like, losing the unit doesn't feel good since we're about to just AoE as team. And I was kind of thinking it's like, if we land in a spot to where our scattered pod isn't on, like, he has 1 health and then he just gets vile feasted, that's kind of a bummer. It's not how I really want to be living my life. But the downside with the pod now is we're only going to have 7 mana on this next turn. We need the 8 mana for the full combo. We may not be able to clear this board. Kennen turns up and say, we need a way to just get rid of this Elise.
The dark beckons.
We don't currently have that. Deny doesn't do it. Get Kennen on the board, like tag him out and then re-Kennen, but that's all too slow. I think we're about to get boomed. We got a recall on the Dancing Droplet, I guess. Give us another chance at a draw. Or if he spends just like a ton of mana, we could potentially keep bouncing Elise back to hand. Just as you're spending 4 mana on Homecoming and 5 mana on Tag Out to return a unit back to hand that costs 2 mana, you know, it doesn't. You could just have about the same mathematical skills as I do to realize they're gonna be replaying that 2-drop with reckless abandon, as we're out here spending 9 mana to send it back. But this is it. This is the turn where everything's gonna go okay. The droplet's gonna come back to hand. We're gonna draw our big spell. Everybody's gonna be happy.
Is it fear that stills your mind?
Lining up a Vile Feast or something. It's gonna be lame. Oh, cool. He hits the other one. All right. Deal. Learn from the master. Rank #1 in the world according to ftpbus.com. It's because of plays like that. Plays like that. Getting the pack your bags right off the top. Put another dude on board, please. Put a guy on top. I'm ready. I am ready. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, shit, this spell costs 5? I thought it cost 3. Shit, I got so hyped. God damn it. Okay. Maybe he'll do something weird. What if we, like, recall one of his units? Maybe he'll come in and try and play it next turn? Oh, that is the answer, right? We just recall the Elise, and then he'll replay the Elise, and then we get to pack your bags. Okay, okay. Whew, I think that's the answer.
Beats with mine.
Alright, everybody, believe. You gotta believe. Oh shit, he just has the mana to replay Elise now. Fuck. I thought I saw the avenue to greatness. I thought that we were for sure gonna end the game with that bounce on Elise. Oops. Oh shit. Alright, fine. That's too bad. That's too bad. Do something weird. Do something dumb. Play a Decimate before you attack. Thinking about it. Thinking about it.
Suck.
Lame. Right. GG. So not a bad set of battles. We got a win on a technicality, and so that's all that really counts. we could pull this up and talk about it a little bit more. That's where I'm going to call it on the day. And so, again, I had very low expectations with this deck. I was going to call one win a real victory for the day, and that's really where we kind of landed. At the end of the day, I really just wanted to kind of try out and get a feel for this scattered pod. As you know, we've seen so many updates out of this variety patch that people just kind of looked at it and just said, it doesn't matter, right? You see, the Frostbite Dog got buffed, it doesn't matter. Startip Peak got buffed, it doesn't matter. Like, just kind of all up and down the board, just doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. And I feel like that was like a lot of real oversight, and we didn't give it like enough of these cards a chance. And I think Scattered Pod is really one that can kind of come in and actually break things. Given that this tutor ability is so strong. And so I don't exactly know where the home is. Like, this go hard style of deck we're playing here could have some potential if we weren't doing all this dumb bullshit with it, right? With the Ahris and the Kennens and the recalls. Like, that deck just isn't good anymore, right? You don't have the 4 mana allegiance unit that just puts 2 dudes on the board. The Kennen is nerfed down to 2. The Ionian Tellstones is gone. Like, the real hard hitters and keys out of that deck are still pretty well nerfed, and I don't think they're ever going to come back from that. But like with things like Scattered Pod, you don't have to play it in some kind of recall-based Ahri Kennen deck. You can play it in something that says, I've got one slow spell that I really want to draw. And, you know, what that slow spell is really kind of up in the air. And I feel like it's very easy to kind of limit yourself and not looking towards something like this. In terms of just having like really high powered spells get printed and then come out and want to use it. And so do I think something like Feel the Rush or Buried in Ice is the actual answer? I don't know. But I mean, there's no denying that the versatility here is pretty big. Like, if you do want to think of a deck like Ramp that I keep going back to, if you have your like slow spells as Feel the Rush and Buried in Ice, and then your burst spells are the Ramp, and then your only fast spell is like Concussive Palm, and knowing that you can either kind of tutor for a big game-breaking slow spell, or you can tutor for an interactive Concussive Palm, or you can just, you know, draw a card off of this thing. Like, there's some very real possibilities that come out of this. And if like a different Ramp card gets printed or a different high-powered spell gets printed, then Scattered Pod has that opportunity to pop off. Again, I always equate things back to Magic, and Magic had the Stoneforge Mystic problem as to where every equipment in the history of Magic had to get printed through the lens of Stoneforge Mystic existing. And just the nonsense that you could do with it really limited you from like printing that 10 cost equipment that equipped for 10 mana. Then you could just spend 2 mana to put it on the board immediately with the Stoneforge Mystic. And so when you have cards like Scattered Pod and the tutor thing out of Noxus that really fit into that same thing, Riot has to be really careful in what they can do. Now, I mean, the difference with Runeterra to Magic, you can just nerf Scattered Pod back up to 6, which you can't do in Magic because the paperness of the game. I think it's still worth a note that Scattered Pod did get reduced in cost. He does have a very important set of abilities between the card draw and being a real late game bruiser, and it's something that's, you know, worth a little bit more respect than just calling it the fodder of the nerfs and the buffs in the patch. So nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.